Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the ISO, I'd like to welcome you to the first stakeholder meeting of the 2026 Budget and Grid Management Charge process. My name is Elena Coppola of Alford, representing the ISO Stakeholder Affairs, and I will be facilitating the web conference today. I'm joined by April Gordon, Executive Director of Financial Planning and Procurement, Ryan Sagazio, VP, CFO and Treasurer and Finance, Lisa Johnson, Senior Manager in the Total Rewards, Ken Kasparian, a Strategic Portfolio Manager in the Project Program Management Office, Lee Sand, Lead Financial Planning Analyst, Denise Walsh, our Controller, and Thomas Setleff, Manager in Financial Planning and Analysis. Before we get started, just a quick reminder that these materials, including the project summaries and links to the project release plans and financial summaries, are available on the Budget and Grid Management Charge Process 2026 Recurring Process webpage. You can get to that webpage by going to our website, iso.com, navigating to the Stakeholder Center tab at the top, selecting Recurring Processes, and that'll take you to the Recurring Process landing page. And then from that page, you can navigate to the 2026 Budget GMC, or you can put that in the search. And these documents and links will be at the top of that page. So there's a few housekeeping reminders before we get started. This call is being recorded for informational and convenience purposes only. Any related transcription should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. The meeting is structured to stimulate dialogue and engage different perspectives, but please keep your comments professional and respectful as always. Please try and be brief and refrain from repeating what's already been said so we can manage our time efficiently today. To raise your hand, make sure that you've opened the participant and chat panels from the bottom right of your screen, and the raise hand icon is actually hidden at the bottom of the participant panel. If you connected outside of WebEx, you can press *3 to raise your hand and get into the question queue. Please remember to state your name and affiliation before making your comment or asking your question. And you can send your questions in the chat to all panelists. If you need technical assistance during the meeting, you can send a chat to the event producer. They show as Intelor Events, and today's event producer is Stacy. So our agenda for today, from here, I will hand it over to April to go over the GMC revenue requirement and race process. Then Lisa Johnson will cover the managing employee compensation, and we'll go over the project release plans. Lee Sand will cover project summaries. Denise Walsh will walk us through the financial summaries, and then Thomas will close it out with the calendar and next steps. And then we'll open for questions at the end. We'll take questions throughout the presentations as well. So here I will be handing it over to April Gordon, Director of Financial Planning and Financial Planning and Procurement. Go ahead, April.
All right, thank you, Elena. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the process, we're in the first opportunity for stakeholders to participate in the development process. We have 3 different opportunities for the stakeholders to participate in this development cycle. This is the first. The second opportunity would be the follow-up stakeholder meeting in November, and then the final opportunity would be in the December timeline when we present the final version of the final draft version of the revenue requirement to the board for their decision in December. Between now and then, we will continue our internal development process of the revenue requirement and the budget and the rates. Between now and November, then we will release a draft version of the revenue requirement to the board for their consideration in October. Then we'll post a draft version of the revenue requirement for external stakeholders and internal for their review in the late October timeline. We'll have that follow-up stakeholder meeting in November, as I mentioned. Then we'll present it for the board for their review and approval in December. If everything goes as planned, we'll go ahead and post those final rates in December, and then the rates will go into effect as of January 1st, 2026. Next slide, please. Yelena, would you mind going back one slide, please? I think we're out of sync here. Okay. Yelena, is there a slide here where we go over the highlights?
This is the latest presentation. Let me see, Stacy, can we go to the next? There's also a little button at the top right that looks like 4 squares, and that will show the slides on the left. To kind of help, there is a sequence on slide 7.
Okay, I think
Stacy has the slides now. Is this looking like the right one or no?
No, I think the one that I'm looking for is the one that's posted out on the website. This doesn't look like the right one.
Okay, we can pull up the other one. I thought this was the same one. Stacy, if you can pull up the one that was the original, it'll be called Presentation 2026 without the version 2. So maybe something got lost in this latest version. And let me know if there's any section that we can maybe cover while Stacy's switching those out.
Okay. I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself here with the out of sequence slides. Okay, if we can land right here, that'd be great. Thank you. So I want to land here for a moment because this is a pretty big slide as we go into the 2026 revenue requirement development. This slide right here covers the really big highlights as we go into 2026. The big highlight for 2026 is the launch of EDAM in May of 2026. With that launch, we're going to see a very big increase in our day-ahead volumes, which is going to help us really lower our pro forma bundled cost per megawatt hour. The slide that you see is showing us where we have incrementally seen an increase in that pro forma bundled cost per megawatt hour up until 2025, where we hit our peak, where we went over about 90 cents per megawatt hour up to 2025's revenue requirement. Now, when we go into 2026, we're going to be hitting a revenue requirement cap of $250 million. But if you'll see that red line's going to go, it's going to dip down to about below 70 cents per megawatt hour because of those additional day-ahead volumes that EDAM is going to bring. With that, we're going to see dramatic decrease of that pro forma bundled cost per megawatt hour, and we're going to continue to see that go down as we get additional participants in EDAM. That's our big story going into 2026, and that's where we're really going to see that the growth of EDAM benefit our customers in 2026 and 27 and so forth as EDAM begins to grow more. Next slide, please. A little bit more about the GMC revenue requirement components. The components on the left are what make up our revenue requirement. Our O&M budget holds all of our needs for not only our salaries, but also our telecommunications, our hardware, our software as a service agreements, and so forth. That's our biggest component of our revenue requirement. Our debt service, that's another need of our revenue requirement. That's a fixed amount until, I believe, going into 2030. Our cash funded capital is also a need. That is going to represent our project funds. The next two components are offsets to our revenue requirement. Those are going to be our other revenues, such as WEIM administrative fees, as well as interest earnings, and the California-Oregon intertie fees. And then our operating cost reserve adjustment, that's going to represent our money, represent our credits going back to our stakeholders for instances where we overcollect our GMC, or we have instances where we underspend our O&M, or in cases where we undercollect in our GMC, or we perhaps go over budget. Then that would be a debit going back to our GMC, or into it, going back into our debit, or I'm sorry, GMC. Those all five of those components make up our revenue requirement. Then what we do is we apply the service category percentages as calculated as part of our cost of service study. Now I'm going to pause here because another new change going into 2026 is we're going to be retiring our charge code 4561, which is our system operations charge. We're going to be retiring that as of December 31st, 2025, and then we're going to be starting up two new service charge charge codes effective 1/1/2026, which is going to be our system operations real-time dispatch charge, and then our system operations services balancing authority area charge. Those new charges will be part of the EDAM charges going into effect when EDAM kicks off in May. With those new service category percentages going into effect, they'll be calculated as part of the new GMC charges, and then we'll be using those percentages to go ahead and calculate the baseline for those GMC charges, and then we'll go ahead and apply the projected volumes for each of those charges to calculate the rates. Now, the next cost of service study is scheduled to take place in 2026. But as of right now, with the EDAM kicking off in 2026, at this point, we're considering to delay the cost of service study to at least take place in 2027, so that we have 1 full year's worth of data to accurately analyze the data, what it take to accurately determine what those types of efforts would be going into the next calculation of the service category percentages. More is to come on that as we continue to look into whether or not it would be beneficial to delay the cost of service study. In any case, we will report back in the coming months on that matter. Next slide, please. A little bit more about the California ISO's budgeting principles. We include, as part of the principles, collaboration within our internal stakeholders and our external stakeholders. We remain underneath our revenue requirement cap. We also maintain a fiscal responsible and disciplined manner. And we also align our revenue requirement with our California ISO strategic plan. Our strategic and tactical objectives include reliably and efficiently integrate new resources. We strengthen and resource adequacy and meet long-term transmission planning needs, and build upon the foundation of Western imbalance market. Provide highly responsive, inclusive stakeholder engagement and customer service, and cultivate an environment that attracts and retains highly skilled and engaged workforce. I will mention that later on in this presentation, Ken Kasparian is going to talk a bit more about how we plan all of this as part of our project release plans within the portfolios, programs, and in the projects themselves. Now, at this point, I'll go ahead and introduce Lisa Johnson, who will go ahead and take us into more of the HR planning. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Next slide, please. So our compensation plans are designed to support our philosophy to attract, train, motivate, and retain our top talent. This compensation program consists of competitive pay. One, we use best practices by going out to the market at least every other year, and we cover 100% of our positions at CAISO, so we can truly make that connection with the market. We also have a pay-for-performance philosophy. This starts with goals that are set and approved by the board, and we cascade those goals down all the way to our individual employees. From those goals, we set high-performance goals for our individual employees. And at the year end, we evaluate the performance, not only the company, but the individual employees against those goals. We do have a merit and promotion salary increase that's based on performance as well as alignment with the budget. Our performance management program consists of individual performance plans, as I mentioned, but each one would have a core responsibility for the employee as well as stretch objectives. Throughout the year, we provide ongoing feedback, coaching, and support for our employees to ensure we hit those goals at the end of the year. New for this year is that we will be renegotiating our 3-year union contract beginning of the fourth quarter. This contract does expire in February of 2026. That's all I have. There's no questions. I would just be handing this off to Ken Kasparian, our Strategic Portfolio Manager. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any questions in the queue. If you do have a question and you're not seeing the raise hand icon, go ahead and open the participant panel from the bottom right. Oh, we do have a question in the chat. Let me read that out loud. So there's a question from Sean Neal. When the system operations charge code retires at the end of the year, how are system operations charged between end of year and commencement of EDAM in May?
I'm sorry, Yelena, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, when the system operations charge code retires at the end of the year, how are system operations charged between the end of the year and commencement of EDAM in May?
At this point, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. I asked.
April, I'll help this one. This is James Lynn. So starting January 1st, 2026, EDAM, the system operations charge is being split into 2 charge codes. During that period, the system operation, those 2 charge codes are going to be applying to ISO BAA only, and not WEIM BAAs. And then starting on 5/1/2026, we will have a flag that the EDAM BAAs will now be incorporated in the system operations charge codes associated with real-time dispatch and not the system operations charge code associated with reliability. The system operations charge code associated with reliability is only going to apply to ISO BAs.
Okay, thank you, James. We had one other question also from Sean Neal. Is the thought that the revenue requirement, 250 million limit, would not be projected to be exceeded because of increased day-ahead volumes in 2026?
No, the $250 million is it's actually the $250 million cap that was put in place as part of the 2023 cost of service study filing with FERC. And we will not be exceeding that going into 2026.
Okay, thank you. If there's any follow-up questions, Sean, you can add them into the chat and we'll answer those as we go. Okay, that's all the questions we had this time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, good morning. This is Ken Kasparian. Been here to talk about our project release plans. Next slide, please. So we've started our annual planning process, and over the next 3 months, we're going to be working through and updating our release plan through early 2027. So we'll be getting identifying the project list. You see a draft posted out there for participants to look at. We're going to be evaluating that list against our budget and resource constraints, what we're calling ability to execute, make sure that the budget and the people are available to support that plan. We'll finalize it and communicate it as part of this process and some other processes. And then we'll update our external release plan and our policy roadmap. Next slide. So how we organize our projects is we organize them by portfolios that align with our business and our strategic plan that's posted out on our site. So as you see some of the documents that have been posted by finance, you'll see the projects grouped by portfolios. And that allows us to trace it back to our strategic plans and organize that work. So this just gives you an overview of those portfolios and how they tie back. So as you see those lists, you'll see portfolio 1 through 6 in there. Next slide. This slide and the next one is really how do you get more information over the next several months as we finish out this process, and really want to show you where to fish and get that information. So I want to make sure folks are tied into these key engagement areas of the Market Performance and Planning Forum and the Release User Group. Got a link here for you to get to those pages quickly. And you can see real quick here what those forums are, if you're not familiar with them. Pause for a second here. And then we'll go on to the next slide that has a couple more links for you to take you down to some better detailed information. Go to the next slide, please.
There are no questions and no questions in chat, no hands at this moment.
Okay. So here you get to our release schedule and our implementation milestones for the projects, and then the overall release planning site. That is, actually go to the next slide, please. So out on our release planning site, you'll find the independent projects that are out there. So our congestion revenue right, upgrade, our demand response, and warning bid stuff. Storage bid cost recovery, subscriber participating owner model, Western EIM and balance enhancements. Our fall 2025, we've got some FERC 881 changes going in. Next slide, please. Go into 26. 26, FERC 881 Track 3 will be going in, and our transmission exchange agreement renegotiation. And then obviously our big ticket ones we've talked about earlier, the day-ahead market enhancements, our extended day-ahead market activation, and BAA participation rules go with that. More will be coming over the next few months as we shore up our 26 and 27 release plan, and those will get posted. Any questions?
We have no questions, thank you.
Great, well, thank you very much. I will pass it on to Lee Sand to talk about the project summary.
And so my name is Lee Sand, Lead Financial Planning Analyst. I'm responsible for tracking all the costs for the projects, and most importantly, ensuring that we stay within our annual budget. Next slide. So I wanted to remind you that there are 3 files out there with lists of projects. The first is a list of the completed projects from July of last year to June of this year. The second is a list of our active projects as of the end of June. And the third is a list of the proposed projects for next year that Ken mentioned earlier. So here at CAISO, we had a very busy year. We completed 31 projects. totaling about $30.4 million. There were many small projects and a handful of larger ones, such as our continued investment in hardware and software, just to make sure that we stay current with the latest technology to help minimize any downtime. We also are very proud to have completed our training room and simulator build-out. Training is so important in allowing us to provide uninterrupted service, so we were very proud to finish that. For active projects as of the end of June, there's another list that lists those, and there's about 42 projects. 15 of those were started just in the last 6 months. We're forecasting to spend about $108 million, with about 39 already spent. So there's still a lot of work left to do in those projects. Some of the large ones that I want to highlight are the energy management system upgrade, which we just started, the settlements upgrade, and of course, the day ahead and extended day ahead projects, which are scheduled to complete next year. Next slide. Okay, so looking back at 2025, we had $30 million in projects approved. But very recently, the Board of Governors approved another 19.5, and that was for the Energy Management System Upgrade Project. Looking forward for 2026, we're targeting a $25 million budget. And as Ken mentioned earlier, there's about 31 proposed projects as of now, and you'll find that in that list that I mentioned earlier. So those will be prioritized, and we'll make sure we're right at that $25 million budget. Do I have any questions? Okay, so if no questions, I am going to pass it on to our controller, Denise Walsh.
Good morning. Thank you, Lee. Thanks for that update. I'm here to present the financial summaries, and basically I'll be presenting the 2024 budget results. This is based on the ISO's audited financial statements, which were issued back in May. And then I'll provide a summary of the ISO's 2025 half-year budget results, year-to-date through June this year. Next slide, please. So the key highlights from the 2024 audited financial statements are as follows. And this is really focusing on the changes in net position for the year. The operating revenues came in over budget by $4 million, and this is largely due to GMC volumes being higher than expected in the forecast. Actuals were $206 million versus a budget of $202 million. Operating expenses closed the year right on budget. Although salaries and benefits were lower, this was offset by higher software computer expenses, outside legal and training and travel spent. This is based on actuals of $256 million and a budget of $256 million. Next category is total other income and expenses. This was over budget by $3 million, primarily due to higher interest income and unrealized gains. The actuals in this category were $8 million versus a budget of $5 million. Any questions on last year's numbers?
There are currently no questions. Thank you.
All right, just a reminder for the stakeholders, you all can find the audited financial statements out on the website. Next slide, please. So in terms of the half-year results through June this year, 2025, this slide is representative of the cumulative operating revenues, and this actually includes GMC and other revenues, such as RC fees and LGIP. So far this year, as of June, this category came in $5 million over budget, based on actuals of $143 million versus a budget of $138 million, which is what you can see there in the bars kind of in the middle of the page there. And the reason this is $5 million over budget, this is largely due to other revenues being higher by about $4 million. And this is based on higher LGIP revenues and higher forecasting fees. The GMC itself, which you'll see in the next slide, is $1 million over budget, so slightly over. Next slide, please. This is the GMC only revenue slide. So you can see there's a little bit up and down, but overall, as of June 30th, it came in $1 million over budget based on actuals of $111 million versus a budget of $110. And as most of you probably know, the ISO monitors the GMC regularly, and we make adjustments as and when is necessary per the tariff. Next slide, please. This is the operations and maintenance expenses, so the O&M. This line item was $2 million under budget based on actuals of $133 million versus a budget of $135 million. So slightly under budget because salaries and expenses were slightly higher, but they were offset by third-party vendor contracts and consulting and contracting services, which are expected to come in later this year. So a little bit of a timing difference there with that. So otherwise, fairly flat. Next slide, please. So this is the cumulative capital expenditure slide. And as Lee mentioned, the board did increase the budget back in May to $49.5 million. And so far, year to date, we have $4 million total expenditure of $4 million, and the total approved projects are $41 million. So I expect that total expenditures will start to ramp up a little bit towards the year end, as it always does. Any questions?
There are currently no questions in queue.
Thank you, Yelena. If there are no questions, I will pass it on to my colleague, Thomas Setliff.
Next slide, please.
Thank you, Denise.
Welcome.
I will now go through the calendar, key dates, and next steps. The next slide, please. So to allow for the continued involvement for all the stakeholders, I will give you a highlight of some expected dates to note to be further involved. So our internal development process is underway right now and goes through November. For this meeting that we are on right now, the comments are due by August 4th, and then we will respond to those comments by August 18th. And then the next step would be a Board of Governors meeting, executive session, on October 29th, which where we will present the preliminary draft, and then we will post that the next day on October 30th. We will have another stakeholder call that you can participate in on November 5th, and you will have another opportunity to post the comments about that draft revenue requirement. Those will be due by November 19th, and then we will respond by December 3rd, which is in advance of the last Board of Governors meeting for the year, general session, where we will be presenting the final draft of the revenue requirement and requesting approval. At that meeting on December 17th, you'll also have another opportunity to have public comments for that draft revenue requirement during that meeting. And we will be requesting the approval of that final revenue requirement. And so then, assuming if approval, then we would then post the revenue requirement and the subsequent rates to our external website by December 19th. So I'll now hand this back over to the host of today's meeting to walk through the process for submitting those written comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Let's go to the next slide, please. Oh, yeah. From here, Stacy, let's go to slide 29. Okay, perfect. So to submit your comments, you can go to the process webpage, and there will be a link there to submit those, and they're due by end of day on August 4th. And if you have any questions, you can email us at isstakeholderaffairs@CAISO.com, and you can find this presentation and all the other documents that we referenced and links to those documents on the budget and grid management charge process page. And next slide, please. For other ways to stay involved, we've been including these, the list of our stakeholder meetings, our comment submission deadlines and trainings, and you can find those and links to them here. Next slide, please. As well as the link to the release schedule and market sim dates and our VPM updates, our news releases, and any outages that would be listed here for production systems. Next slide, please. Okay, and we just posted a new Energy Matters log on July 16th, highlighting how the Regional Issue Forum, RIF, continued work supports further stakeholder engagement, elevates sector perspectives, and is preparing for alignment with our governance reforms. Over the past decade, the RIF has evolved into a vital part of market governance. Now, with EDAM on the horizon and governance reforms under discussion, the RIF is proposing enhancements to ensure stakeholders remain deeply engaged and heard. So you can read the full blog in the link there, and you can subscribe to get any upcoming blogs that come out. So that's another way you can stay involved there. On behalf of Stakeholder Affairs, I'd like to thank all the presenters today for their presentations, and I'd like to thank Stacy, our event producer, for her support. In a few business days, the recording of this call will be posted to the Budget and Grid Management Charge Process page. Thank you for joining us. I'm not seeing any other hands. Thank you for your participation. Stacy, you may close this call.